Welcome back for another video. Since you guys liked him so much, we're joined by FPL's current world #1 manager, Eric. While he's been studying to become a doctor, he's also working out how to stay #1 out of 13 million FPL managers. So he claimed the top spot for the first time in Gameweek 29, and then he kept the top spot in Gameweek 30. Eric, welcome back. How are you, mate?
Good. A bit nervous, but it was a great game week, so I can only be happy, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think what we'll do, we'll start with a look at how your team got on last game week, and then just have a quick chat about that. And then we'll have a look at your team for the next game week and your transfer plans, basically, for the blank game week. You actually had a really good game week 30, right? 71 points you finished on, and I think you extended the gap at the top as well, right? To 15 points from first to second, and you sold Haaland for Ekitike. So yeah, talk us through how last game week went and what your thinking was with the transfer.
I was really happy with that Låbakk paid off, because everyone was talking about that they needed a Liverpool midfielder, and I just did not see the value in Salah or Wirtz. So I just went Låbakk because he's just been a safe DEFCON option, but also just been scoring on those free kicks. So he really ended up paying off. Bruno captain, I don't know, that was great. I was sitting there celebrating every single one of his assists. It was huge. Ekitike to Haaland, that did not end up paying off, but I did post about it, a bit like analysis behind it, but statistically I read about it, and Ekitike just looked like the better play. Especially with the budget now that I have, I can really pick anyone I want. But it didn't pay off, but with 1 point, I was fine with it. And then Raya and Arsenal saw defense, Hill paid off. Yeah, can't complain.
Yeah, pretty good week. Obviously unlucky with the Ekitike bench, and I did the same move. I did Haaland to Ekitike. I also brought in Salah, so it's lucky you didn't do that. But obviously, like you said, you've got the money in the bank to do anything you want. Maybe that will be Semenyo to a premium. But to be honest, there's also like some cheap players that look arguably equally good or better for the blank game week. Out of interest, do you factor player ownership into your decision making at all? Obviously, I realised that Haaland and Ekitike were both really highly owned. But is that anything that you've looked at this season when making decisions? How high ownership a player is that you're buying or selling?
It definitely matters, especially now when effective ownership is like such a big deal in the top 100 or top 1,000. Then effective ownership can be such a swing in rank. Like selling Bruno is like out of the question because it has such a high effective ownership that I can't even consider it. And there's also players that, so I have like a couple differentials with like Låbakk and Hill and maybe like Zhao, I guess, but he's also very high in ownership. But I do keep an eye on ownership now. It's definitely a bigger role. It's definitely a bigger play. Yeah.
Have you got any regrets? Like if I said, what's your biggest regret or mistake this season? Is like anything that comes to mind in particular?
I mean, again, the Semenyo December and January, that was just so many points where I tried to go for a different differential play, and then Semenyo just ended up being the right play, and he could have harvested so many points. But I've also made such bench mistakes and should have trusted Thiago earlier. Plenty of mistakes. But I'm #1, so I don't know if it's been that bad.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot about it on the last week's video. If you haven't watched that, it's still a lot of it is relevant because we kind of analysed your season, not specifically just last game week. And yeah, there was so many points that you'd bench, but I think that's also actually a sign of a good team and a good manager, arguably, if you are benching lots of points, because your starting 11 has also scored fantastically on average. And you're yet to take a hit this season, and others in the top 10 have taken lots of hits, for example. Number 5 in the overall rankings, he's taken -20 in hits this season. You've not taken a single one yet.
Crazy.
What would be your tipping point for you to take a hit?
Like if I had like just blanks on my team that I don't have free transfers for, I can't just have a blank 0 player. I think at that point I just take the hit. And then I'd have to really see, do I value the 4 points over the -4? But every single time I've like tried to mathematically break it down, a hit I've never seen the value in a hit, that I'd rather bench a player and play someone else on my team. And that's also why I've been really focused on having like a good bench, so that if a player doesn't do well, I can just swap him out instead of taking a hit for that game. So I would love to not take any hits because I hate hits, and -4 in my brain just sounds terrible. But maybe if I really were in a crisis with a starting 11 and didn't have a wild card or anything, that might just be the tipping point then.
Speaking of, so you sort of have set yourself up for the blank game week, right? Even though you've got a couple of issues. So we'll move on to your team for Game Week 31 and your plans. So we'll do it position by position. So in goal, first of all, you've got Pickford. So Chelsea home. You are an Everton fan, so I'm guessing that's why you've got the Pickford in there. Are you just planning to just play him, right? You're not spending a transfer in goal, or are you thinking about it?
Nah, even if Everton are at risk of losing the clean sheet, I'd rather that he maybe plays for the save points than swap him out for someone else. And using a transfer, which could be so valuable later, to maybe get a clean sheet with someone else, I wouldn't change that. I wouldn't change that.
And let's move on to your back three. So you've got Tarkowski, Van Dijk, and Hill. So obviously Tarkowski's also picked up this injury. Moyes was asked about it, right? And he said, "I'm not going to tell you anything," or something along those lines. So we're actually yet to find out exactly how bad that one is. So assuming Tarkowski is out or a major doubt, which players are you looking at there in defence that would have to come in? Because obviously that would leave you down to 10 players if you didn't buy a defender.
Yeah, I think my plan will be to sell Gehi to have an extra player on the bench instead of just taking out Tarkowski directly. Because if I have blanking players on the bench anyway, rather have the extra guy on the bench to give flexibility if anything would happen. Because I mean, like Wirtz, he got an injury in warm up. Like we really don't know what's gonna happen. So I'd rather have it in the bench. Chow looks really set up because he's gonna be the double game week for later. So getting him, it sounds like a great preparation. Van Heck has also been my thoughts. But I think for this week, it'd just be like a 1 week punt if I've planned to wildcard next week. So Chow against Sunderland looks great. Anderson against Fulham, I really like. I don't really have the match. And maybe even United defender, because Bournemouth have been so unclinical as of recently. So maybe, but that'd be a bit of a punt. But I think Anderson and Chow would be my look for now, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with those two. And then in midfield, as it stands, you've only got three mids. So it's Bruno, Wilson, Semenyo, and then Szoboszlai. And as it stands, the captain armband is on Bruno, Vice, Wilson. Obviously, that could change. Are you looking to spend a transfer in midfield then?
Semenyo will come out. I have some free transfers, so I think, again, that'll just be like a 1 week punt for however I feel. I'm looking at Gordon, because now when he's playing at the 10 as a midfielder and on pens, that's exactly what you want as a Premier League manager or like an FPL manager. So that seems ideal, especially against Sunderland, where I could really imagine it being a bloodbath with yellow cards. I would pick him just on the bet of a penalty, just to the hope that he maybe gets a penalty. And even Palmer I've considered, but I have a hard time picking Palmer against Everton. So I'll see if it's some hard choices, but I think Gordon and even Damsgaard and Otaro against Leeds, that also looks really ideal.
Yeah, that's it. I guess that makes sense as well in terms of when you said Palmer, you could at least avoid attacker versus defender. So someone like a Gordon does have more upside. And yeah, I think people often understate the power of penalties. Like you can have someone like Gordon, he's having an absolutely horrendous game, and then someone wins a penalty, boom, he's got you 5 points, maybe some bonus despite having a bad game. So yeah, penalties are just so powerful. And then your front three, you've got Ekitike, Thiago, and João Pedro. So that looks perfect to me. I know Ekitike was benched last game. I think if anything, that means his chances of starting in Gameweek 31 go up. So that's also great because otherwise, some people could be in a tough spot if anyone misses out and they've got exactly 11 players that have a fixture. So I assume your plan is to just leave the front three as it is, right?
I think the front three looks incredible. I wouldn't touch it. I mean, even if that was my front three for the rest of the season, I'd be happy, So, that looks great.
And how many transfers did you say you actually had?
I got 2 now. So my dream is to only use 1 and be able to roll. Because then if I'm going to play my strip strategy, like with 32, 33, 34, I should have around 3 or 4 by the end of all of that. Which leaves me quite comfortable for the chaos the last 4 weeks. So I'd prefer to just use 1. I might just use 1 and then hope Tarkowski plays. We will see.
I'm in the exact same boat. So I've got Mukiele, and I don't currently know if he's going to be back, if he's going to play or not. And it's like, I'm happy to just play him in a bad fixture if it comes down to it, because, as you say, hopefully that transfer is more useful later in the season, because we're expecting a double in 33, a double in 36, but there could be other smaller doubles outside of that. We really just don't know. And the only thing that's going to give you that flexibility is having extra free transfers. And you're in a really good position. You've got all 4 chips remaining. What's your rough chip strategy as it stands for the rest of the season?
I mean, I've been really juggling with it, but just like wildcard in 32 looks really, really nice, especially if Liverpool beats City in the FA Cup. then Liverpool has a great run of games with Brighton, Fulham, Everton, Crystal Palace. Like that would be incredible for the double game week because then I would just load up on Newcastle, Brighton, Liverpool, Chelsea, and don't remember the last teams now. I think it's Burnley and Arsenal, of course.
Yeah.
But just load up on those in 32, bench boost for 15 players on 33, which would be amazing. And I think my mindset is maybe I go all in there and play 15 for 15 just to really cash in on the double game week. And then 34, 3 hit, because then I'd hypothetically maximize my bench boost with 15 times 2, and then free hit 15 blankers. So like hypothetically in my head that sounds amazing. But I'll have to see. Maybe I have Bruno still in there, or maybe still have Virgil still in there. I'll have to see how I end up doing it. And luckily there's a long break between, so I have a lot of time to deliberate what I actually want to do.
Yeah, I mean, if there's any player I'd keep that doesn't have a double game week, I think Bruno would be the one. But yeah, it sounds like your plan is to stay flexible. And just actually not long before we jumped on to record this, you posted a really interesting thread on Twitter, which was packed with good information. So check that out. It's at the FPL study on X if you want to check out Eric's post there. There's 4 things that your decisions have been based on this season. So I just wanted to ask you a bit about these because although it's like your first season playing FPL, you've really, really studied the game. And the 4 things that your decisions have been based on are fixtures, underlying stats, so XG, XA, expected goals conceded, the price and value of players, and the minutes. And this makes perfect sense. But can you sort of elaborate and explain on those 4 things that have helped shape your decisions this season to get you to where you are?
I mean, like, value for money is things like the best, like, is what you pick, like, day one. Like, when we're making our game week and our wild carding and the start of the game, we're really just trying to look for the value in these hidden gems. Where can we find these hidden gems? That's, like, where we start out. And then, like, later as we get into it, like, using your chips effectively, finding, like, and the stats, I'm an analytical brain, and a logical brain. And I think that's also why I've been so away from like players like Salah when it's my first season. Because I know that he's been great in before, but he's never cashed in for me before, hypothetically. So I think that's maybe been a good thing, is because I've only been looking at what is it that works? What does the math say that is good? What do the fixtures say is good? And I think fixtures and math as like a combination has been like the biggest mix of the two. I've weighed a lot on fixtures, where if I've seen, oh, City's going to play against Burnley, Leeds, and maybe Newcastle, I'll think bringing in Semenyo is great, only for the 2 games, even for the 3rd. And then also balancing out the team and 90 minutes, and all these factors have just been played a mix in buying a player. Yeah. And then when I felt that, oh, this player meets these criteria compared to this player, which one looks better? This is better, make the transfer. No, I've been really focused on fixtures and like underlying stats as like a combination. Because like if the underlying stats supports a player and they also are having a good run of fixtures, even if they have like the next 8 games but they have 2 bad games, I'll still pick the player because comparatively to like another player, they still rank. The value is there, you know. And of course I've been lucky with some, but I've also just been more prioritizing players who maybe score 4 or 5 every week instead of these 2 or 10 players like Rodgers can be. So yeah, I think it's been a mix of all those.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it, of course. Like, you need a lot of luck. Decisions will take you so far, and that is something that you've like held your hands up and recognised as well in last week's video and plus this one. Like, you do need some luck as well. But I think you're totally on the money there with those 4 things. And the minutes one in particular, that one for me took me years to fully appreciate. Just a nailed player rather than a player who's in form but not necessarily nailed tends to just not work out in my experience. So as often as can, I'll pick a nailed player, and ideally one that plays 90 every game, because the longer a player's on the pitch, the likely they are to get you a return. And lastly, you posted some key principles. So can you just talk us through these? So some key principles you mentioned are: you remove emotion from decisions, you don't chase points, you only want to beat the average score, and saving transfers equals flexibility, and planning ahead equals flexibility.
Yeah. I think the removing emotions one is one like everyone struggles with. Even I. Like, I've had Pickford since day one, and the thought of dropping him at a wildcard next week sounds terrible.
Yeah.
But it's these kind of things where like we can so easily get caught up in, and like even yesterday, like the other week when I had to sell Haaland for Ekitike, I was like, how can I sell Haaland? Like, how can I sell this guy? But then at the end of the day, it's like, it's the math I'm making the decision on. It's the fixtures I'm basing it on. So that's what I should follow. And so I did. And then like with not chasing points, I haven't really thought about what is around me. I've just thought about what do I need to put into my team to get a consistent score. And that is what I've implemented since like day one. And that's just worked. And I think it's been really good because I've only been under average twice. Trusted the math, trusted the fixtures, trusted the consistency. So I think that's a big thing because I think people really often maybe just want to score 120 points in a week and hit every single lucky player that's supposed to do well. But often it's just about having the consistent weeks that brings you higher up. It's not about scoring 90 every single week. It's about, oh, I beat the average with 5 points this week. I beat the average with 10 points the next week. Because it varies so much with the average. Like we never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I wish I could recall what the number is, but obviously every week you get a game week rank, which is where you ranked in the world for that specific game week. And I can't remember what the number is, but it's something like if you were to have a game week rank of about 5 million every week, you'd win FPL by the end of the season. So it really goes to show the value of just getting ahead of the average rather than looking for a huge week every week. And as you say, you've come above the average in all but just 2 or 3 game weeks, but not significantly most of the time.
Exactly. And that's exactly the thing I think people underestimate is how much consistency can play a role when you play 38 games in a season. But then also saving transfers and planning ahead. Like I plan so much ahead with when am I supposed to use a transfer when, because I think that's like essential in this game is I'm not going to buy a player just for 1 game week, even if it looks ideal. I'm going to buy a player because, oh, it looks like this, unless it's a punt like Gameweek 31 looks like.
Yeah.
But that's why planning is like such a big part of this game, because if you don't use your transfers well, that's when you fall behind. And especially in a season like this year when we've had so much transfers, it's been so easy to like fall in this hole of like, what do I even spend it on? Who do I even get in now? So it's a huge mix of these factors, but they're also very important things, I think, for like anyone to focus on. Because I think people underestimate how much just consistency carries you on.
Oh, that's brilliant. Eric, thank you so much for sharing your insight, your team, your thoughts and everything, chip strategy and all those good things. We'll wrap it up there. So best of luck for Gameweek 31. The team looks good. I'm interested to see what transfers you make and how you get on. If you guys aren't following Eric, you can find him on X with the username at the FPL Study. Eric, thank you again, mate. Best of luck.
Thank you so much for having me on. See you, man.
Welcome back for another video. Since you guys liked him so much, we're joined by FPL's current world #1, Eric. Let me do that again. Sorry.
No worries.
Welcome back for another video. Now you're laughing. Hang on.
Yeah,
I can hear you laughing in the background.
Yeah, my bad. I'll shut up.
Okay.
Like what was it called? The blinds down?
Oh, pull them down. Let's see how it looks. Might be a little bit better. Obviously, if there's anything like you wanted to re-record, like I said last time, we can just redo it. If anything, it's probably me that I'll have to redo because I've got my dog on my lap. Anyway.
I think they liked the bloopers last time, so I think it's
yeah.
It gives the blooper potential, if anything.
Yeah, true. Oh yeah, did you see those at the end?